Hi everyone, it's Kirei here with another process video for Blvd. And for this layout, I'm using the super cute new Farmyard themed EIEIO collection. And I've pulled out and focusing on two of the pattern papers, the borders and the daily details that you can see here. I do also use quite a number of other pattern papers from the collection as layers for on my layout. So what I'm doing here is I'm cutting off the border strips. I'm particularly focusing on the pieces that are sort of they don't have too much farmyard theming to them. So the stripes, the gingham, the checks, etc. The little hearts. Cut off the words. So and that's sort of my starting point. And then for the daily details, I am cutting off the tags that you can see there. So there's three tags. I think it's boy, girl, and EIEIO that I use. Just trimming those off because I quite like using tags sometimes just to tuck in and add extra layers behind my photos. So that's my idea right now. So I was deciding on the background. I wasn't sure whether I was going to go for plain white cardstock or use that slightly patterned background. It's like a honeycomb, like a wire print in the background. I do go for the plain white in the end. So I'm starting to work with sort of which pattern papers I want to use. So I've got this nice, I really love the bright sort of polka dot one there. So I'm definitely going to use that as a base. And then I'm going to layer up some of the different pattern papers over the top of it. Now I have these 6 photos here, and you might be thinking, what on earth are they? Well, there's a bit of a story behind the photos for this. Now, I don't have any children, so and I don't really have. I don't go to a farm particularly, and so I'm trying to be creative with using the collection. So I have this idea that I could go onto Snapchat and use some farmyard animal filters. So I was sort of thinking, oh, I'll find some really cute little animals. That would be nice, and I'll use some of those anyway. There weren't any cute ones, and this is what I've ended up with. They were quite odd, but anyway, I thought they were sort of funny, so I was like, well, I'm definitely going to use them because there's a bit of a story behind it. Because anyway, so that's what I've done. So yeah, they're not cute. They're just a bit weird and odd, but I figured they were all farmyard animals, and it worked. So I'm going to use those 6 photos. Anyway, so I've cut up a number of pieces and I am distressing the edges. Now, I'm not sure if you're a distresser or not, but I definitely am. I love to add that extra sort of texture to my layout. So I think pretty much all my layouts would feature sort of distressed edges in some way or another. So this is where I'm starting. So I'm sort of playing with this at the moment because it does move on from where I'm at the moment. So I'm definitely sort of working with those pattern papers don't change. My configuration does. Now I pulled out, this is one of the border strips, and I had a bit of an idea here with these little, they're just little circles with the animal faces in them. And I was just punching them out and thinking, oh, I might sort of cascade them down through the layout. And that was sort of where I was going. I don't actually end up using them in the end, but that's sort of my starting process. And some of the things that I do that you're seeing in the video, I don't, they change as I sort of progress. But I feel like it's interesting to see sort of how a layout evolves essentially. Okay, so I've got the tags. I'm also distressing the edges of those, of course. Yeah, I'm working with that. So now, okay, I've moved on now, and you can see I've shifted everything over to the left side. Here's 3 of the border stickers, and I'm using those just here on the left underneath. So I'm just pulling in 3 of the different patterns, and then I can layer up the other papers over the top. So yeah, definitely layouts evolve and it can take a little bit of time. I'm not the quickest scrapbooker. I am quite slow. I'm quite methodical and I'm pretty precise with everything. As you can see, I'm using a T-square, things have got to be straight, etc. So, so certainly for sometimes with a video, I do elements of it off camera and just play around with things, because otherwise it would be a really, really long video. So yeah. So anyway, yeah, starting to get it all down. I'm just sort of lifting all the edges there as I go, just to really, again, it's just sort of lifting it up, keeping it sort of quite textured and getting that dimension into it. So I'm just tucking in the tags, and again, they're just a bit of a feature for the layout. So I'm sort of adding those into behind some of the layers. So here's the EIEIO. I'm just going to tuck that in behind. So you actually don't see all of the words on there, but that's fine. I'm sort of working on the fact that I'm using the tag piece as a bit of a design feature, if you like, on the layout. So, and then I've got the last one there. So I'm just trimming off the bottom because I think it's going to show through when I stick this piece down. So, and there we've sort of got the basis or the background, if you like, of my layout, and then I can sort of start to work with everything else. So I've got my photos, and I'm just adding a little bit of foam tape to the top of them at the moment, and then I'm just getting them sort of placed, making sure I'm happy with the sort of order that they're in, and then I can start to stick them down. So now I'm sticking some of my double-sided tape to the bottom only. I haven't pulled off the backing on the top, on the foam pads on the top as yet, because I'm not sure if I'm going to be tucking anything behind. So I'm going to wait, and then I can just pull the backings off a little bit later. So I've got those all stuck down. I've pulled out some of the EIEIO ephemera icons and words, and that sort of work with my photos. And I'm just having a play here with what I'm thinking will go where. So I'm pulling out some of obviously the coordinating animals. So sheep, I've got the horse, there's a cat, I think there's a pig, I think I pull in a cow as well. So I'm sort of really having a look about which elements sort of work best where. I've got some of the little bar and the moo, and there's an oink. So I quite like those. So I definitely want to add those in. I do pull out this Bella Pops, and I've got the little piggy there, which is very cute. So this is sort of where this isn't part of the process for me, is really working with the ephemera pieces and figuring out which bits go where. So I'm cutting out some of these words here and layering those on. As I said to you before, this is really part of my process. And actually, I don't end up using a lot of these elements because in the end, it was all just too busy, because I've got 6 quite different photos that are quite busy anyway. I just felt it started to overwhelm them. So I do pare it back. So, but this, again, I could have cut this part of the process video out, but I figure it's sort of interesting to watch because you can see where it moves on from this point here. Same with this title, actually. So I have pulled out the Chow Chip chipboard, and I'm using the letters here, and I'm just working with Farmyard because I'm going to call this Farmyard Snapchat. So I'm pulling out the different ones here. I'm just making up the word Farmyard with the different colours. And then I'll add Snapchat underneath that with the doohickey cardstock stickers. There's a really nice bright red alpha on there, and I'm going to add that in underneath it, and you'll see that in just a moment. But again, my layout does move on from this also. Here I go. I'm just still playing around with those ephemera elements as I'm sort of working, thinking, can I just cluster them together, in one area? But just again, I sort of moved it on. Okay, so moved on now, and I've flipped, and I've gone to using some of the puffy stickers, and much smaller, and they really just worked much better. They just added that little element that I needed, but didn't overwhelm the photos. So I've just pulled out the sort of cute little. There's a sheep, there's a cow, there's a horse, and there's a pig as well, and I've got another cow on there too. So that's what I'm doing. And then I've just suddenly remembered I haven't peeled off the backing of the foam pads behind my photos. So I'm just doing that quickly now. And then I can keep getting the other elements stuck down. So so just sticking those in. You see I'm just adding glue to the center. So again, I'm just I curve up the edges of some of the stickers so that, again, it just adds that sort of extra dimension. So that's really coming together. Now, I sort of finish once I do get the alpha on, and then I sort of finish and I leave it. And it was actually when I went to take photos that I just decided I felt like I need to do something more with the layout. So I did do it off camera, but I did add a pattern paper frame. So I trimmed the white card down slightly and added a pattern paper frame and some cross stitching around the border, because it just felt like it needed something. Okay, so now I've moved on. You can see I've obviously gone. I've now moved on to a new alpha. I've gone with just the plain black aria puffy alpha. I felt like that just stood out much better and worked well. And then I have the EIEIO, the doohickey cardstock stickers, and I've got the Snapchat in there now. So happy with how that looks. Pulled out some of the trinkets in the black, and I'm just adding a couple of little hearts, and then I'll add my journaling to the bottom here. Now, I always add journaling. Sometimes it's a bit more, sometimes it's just a small amount, but I always add some journaling. So here's my final layout. You'll see those added details that I mentioned before with the frame around it and some close-ups of all the fabulous EIEIO collection. I really hope you've enjoyed watching this process video, and I will see you again next month. Thanks so much for watching. Bye for now.